And we are live. So, hello and welcome to Under the Hood, the live stream series where we take a sneak peek behind the curtain to understand how sexy 3D and immersive websites came to be. For episode 1 of Under the Hood, I'm joined by the incredible creatives Gaetan Pauler and
Hi,
Mael
guys.
Ruffini. Yes. We got these beauties in the studio. The studio? I'm just speaking like as if I've got this huge setup. And we're going to talk about how they combined to make Mael's portfolio website, which, if you haven't seen it, is insane. And it's really interesting how these guys combined together. Gaetan worked on the design as a seasoned freelance interactive designer. Gaetan has worked with industry giants like Chanel. He's actually in the offices of Chanel as we speak. He's judged for awards, and he's founded Concrete Club Studio, bringing a bold, immersive approach to digital storytelling. And on the technical front, we've got the main man from Tambien Studio, Mael, with years of experience as a web designer. He bridges the gap between art and functionality, as you're about to see, and he fuses it into a beautiful, pixel-perfect design. These guys are a creative powerhouse working together. They've worked together on numerous projects, and as you're about to see, they made a pretty insane portfolio for Mael. So, both of you, welcome to Under the Hood.
Hey,
Thank you,
thanks
man.
for having us.
I am psyched to have you. This is episode 1, and I've got 2 greats in the building. I want to just share the screen and just show you guys a little bit about you both. Concrete Club's website is so sick. So this is Gaetan's incredible work here. And then Tambien Studio, such a cool website that Alex, this guy on the screen here, set up. But I mean, a lot of these websites in the case study sections have been developed by Mael. So well worth checking out that. But the website that we'll be specifically talking about today is, of course, this sexy beauty. Check out this load screen. We've got these incredible scenes that move as you hover about. You can click through to switch.
I don't know about you guys, sorry to interrupt, but I'm still on the Concrete Club website.
Oh no, that's completely my bad, sorry. Oh, first live stream, and obviously I've messed it up. Cinema layout, is that working? You now seeing your website?
No.
Share this tab instead.
Yeah, that's right. It's okay, man.
Oh, God, we missed loads of that amazing intro then. Okay. Well, okay, what I should do is actually just put the links in the chat, and then people can browse them while we're talking. But let's turn the attention back to you guys then. I'm going to stop sharing. How did you guys start working together? And tell me about the genesis of this website.
I think we started working together a few years ago when Tambien reached out to collaborate on a project. I think it was the Tandem website for bicycle company here in Europe. And I didn't know Mael at the time. He was just a Tambien developer for on my side. So we started working together, and I remember I immediately was like, okay, that guy knows what he's talking about, and I can already see when he talks about my design, he knows about design, and developer that knows about design is something you should stick with. And yeah, we kept working on different projects together with Tambien, and then Mael reached out he was like, hey, I'm freelancing now, so if you have some projects, I'd be happy to work with you. And I was like, hallelujah, let's
do this. Nice. Because actually this is an important point that we talked about just before going live. A developer that understands the design is who has a really good sense of what the designer is trying to achieve, because there's a big difference between, flat Figma files or, whatever platform you use to design, and then implementing those ideas from those flat visuals in development. And that's a skill. Like, the only really, really intuitive developers, I think, can bring a designer's ideas truly to life. So it's quite rare.
I think you can go even further. Like, in my vision, the developer shouldn't just take the design and make it live. He's completely part of the design. Like, you have some idea as a designer working on Figma or any software, and then you have the developer, which has his own experience and works with different tools like coding, 3D in Mael's case. And this experience and this different vision, because he uses different tools, this has to go in the creative process and take your project further. Like, when I land the design to Mael, I'm not like, okay, this is a finished product, just make it live now. I'm like, take it from there, make your magic. Like, have some ideas.
Cook.
Maybe if you think some stuff are like are not going in the right way, just kill them and like create some new stuff. While like, in every developer I work with, they really, really, really like deeply part of the design process.
Interesting. Mael, what do you think about this?
I completely agree. The first time I worked with Gaetan were quite challenging. I remember that the first 2-3 websites I developed from Gaetan were quite challenging. I also think that over time I improved a bit, but I also just improved the relation I have with Gaetan, which made converting the design to the website. I also think that a big part of developing websites are constraints. A lot of engines we're making to the design once Gaetan is handing the design over to me are motivated by limitation that we may face. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that sometimes limitations are a good way for us to go outside what we initially thought about and to be a bit more creative than we would have been without those limitations.
Yeah, I think limitations, I think the designer is essentially like getting the ingredients and then writing the instructions for the developer to cook. But then when the developer cooks, if they're a good cook, they might read those instructions and be like, I'm actually going to do those in a different order. Or, you know what? I'm going to add an extra instruction that maybe the original, cook didn't think about. And then that makes this incredible dish that's like, GSAP, Linux, custom code, etc. And I think that's where things get really spicy. And this was a spicy website. Let's not play. This was mad. So what I'd love you guys to do is maybe, Mael, if you could share the screen and just talk us through, like, how do you even conceptualize a site like this together? Like, were you just like, hey, I've got a kind of rough idea. I want this like gallery at the top, and then I haven't got all the copy, but here's what I'm thinking. Like, talk to me about that. And if we could see some visuals, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Let me know if you can see my screen, but that should be okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to add that to the stage, and then I'm going to add you guys to the side. Carry on.
So maybe I can show you the references we had, because I think Gaetan might be more interested in talking about the design than me, because I really did not give him a lot of direction. I told him what I wanted to do. I gave him a few references. The big one was the Toy Fight website.
Yeah, amazing site.
Not in terms of design and visual, but in the playfulness of the site. I really enjoyed the colors and it's just a fun website. It's it's fun to scroll through the pages, and I really wanted something like that. Another reference we had was the Silencer website. I mean, I just love, you get this clean feeling when you're on there, and the use of the 3D elements across the pages is really awesome. So that's, I think, the two main references I gave him, and I guess that was pretty much it. I don't really know then how he find the inspiration and what went through his mind. So maybe I can show the design, and Gaetan, you can.
Yeah. So basically, Mael just reached out and was like, "Hey, I want to redo my portfolio, and like, do you want to work with me on this?" And I was like, "Sure," because what's interesting is that like Mael isn't just a developer. Like you usually on a developer website, you don't want it to be super visual because he didn't work on the visual parts of the project, right? But Mael, usually he works on the visual part because he makes 3D, and because of his like developing approach, we could make it visual. So sorry. So this was a super like fun way to conceptualize his portfolio in the first place. And then yeah, we gathered a few references. This is like how we could like work on the 3D parts. I don't do 3D on my side, so just gathered some images of like, and I commented like, this could be fun, this could be fun, this could be fun. Let's make it move. Let's make it like pop here and like pop there. And we just actually, you use the cooking analogy. In this phase, we just gathered like inspirations.
Ingredients.
We were just like in a giant supermarket, and we were like, okay, let's use this, let's use this, let's use this, and like let's see how it goes together, right?
So can I just check then? So you got sent 2 websites by Mael, and he was like, I like the playfulness of this one, I like the 3D of this one. Have a play. So he kind of gave you very broad direction, and then he just trusted your judgment. And then you guys, so then you got into Figma, and you've got like Savvy It or Pinterest, or like you go on award sites. Do you have any like favorite places that you supermarket shop for inspo?
Usually, actually, I'm super basic guy when it comes to using tools, and don't use fancy tools. I just have like in Instagram saving board and like my Savvy account, and like that's basically it.
Wow, so you're just screenshotting from those?
Yeah, exactly.
And then can we just go back to the top Figma? So I'm just so intrigued how people like conceptualize ideas. So this top board, you've got a mood board on the left of just.
This is like the first phase I work on, or usually when I work on a project. It's called creative research, and like it's just a giant kitchen, and we paste some inspiration, we talk about it, we even like talked about the structure, because at this point we didn't have a structure for the website, and I was like, maybe
no copy, no nothing.
Yeah, we could have like these pages here. Do we have an about page? Do we like skip that page? Do we have a contact page? Do we skip that page? Just like discussing about the website.
So I guess you've just got like loads of screenshots from wherever, Instagram, wherever, and then you're just like, hey, here's a load of random ingredients that we could or could not use, and I'm just going to get you to react to them. And then from there, the second Figma file that we looked at is that's you're getting tighter, closer in on what the final ingredients are. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Once like Mael reacted to the inspiration and we talked about it, I'm starting designing. At this point, I don't use actual assets. I just like searched random 3D assets just to match the
aesthetic,
the general aesthetic I wanted to have. And
wow, so this green section is already in the final design. So you got pretty close from like the get-go, right?
Yeah, usually I practically never work on different proposition, because the way I work and I talk with my clients and with Mael during the creative research phase, we can kind of like nail it from there. Like we talk about how it works and how it goes, and just it pops up in my head, and like I just
visualize it.
visualize it and like create the Figma file. And usually we have some stuff to rearrange here and there, but we're like 90% done usually.
Okay, so what you're saying is normally there's like maybe 3 tighter directions that you present to the client before just being like, hey, I'm just like playing, what do you think? Like with Mael, because he's kind of intuitive about what you're doing, you can just show him stuff and just have a back and forth more.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. And then we get to so you've kind of shown him some different and these are hero headers, is that right? Like you're just like, hey, like this is the kind of general feel. Like, is that what you're showing him here?
Yeah, this is the homepage. I never built like a full page. I like to build like screen after screen because it's just the way I conceptualize the different sections of the websites. I like to like create
Isolate.
some fancy layouts and like for each section, and it's just easier for me to like conceptualize it with one screen. And so yeah,
Okay,
this is the
interesting.
homepage. We have the about page just like next to it.
And Gaetan, you said that at the start you're not a very like you're not a very tool-based person. You're not a very like techie person. Is that, have I interpreted you correctly there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, in Figma, are you like, okay, I'm gonna just show him the desktop, and then if he likes that direction, then I'll just show him. Then I can think about a mobile version, or is that the mobile version there?
Oh, it's right there.
Yeah,
Oh.
we have a mobile version, but usually I
Sorry.
work on desktop first, and
Okay.
then I just paste the mobile version once we logged in here.
Okay, nice. Wow, so you've done a ton of different directions just for that because I guess the home hero sets the tone, right? So what you're doing is you're just like, okay, I'm just going to show you a ton of different stuff for the home hero, both for the desktop and for the mobile, and then you've got an idea of where this is going. Is that right?
No, actually, this everything you see here is just the homepage. We have the hero here on
Okay.
top, and then if you scroll down the homepage, you just like go from section to section here.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I understand now. Okay, so you've kind of isolated each section there. So it's just
exactly.
it's not like one flowing thing as much. Like it is one flowing thing, but
Yeah,
in the
but
Figma you've kind of got
section by
one
section.
screen. Yeah, okay, nice. Super interesting seeing how you're like conceptualizing this project. And then I guess you're showing, once you've done this, you jump on a call with Mael, you show it together, and then show me the next Figma file after you've like got all those comments and you do stuff with them.
That's the one actually. The first one was this one, sorry, and
okay.
They're so similar. We I mean, did not change a lot of things. The main changes, I guess, was that basically Gaetan showed me this concept, and once it was validated, he just built the other pages. But it's
so you just built the other pages off the back of the homepage?
Yeah.
God, Mael, that's mad. Okay, cool. So you literally just like took that idea and just ran with it for the whole website off the back of seeing just the homepage.
Yeah, basically I presented the homepage and like I don't remember what I presented at the time, but maybe one or two directions for the different pages, and then Mael was like, "Okay, let's go with this direction," and like,
oh, dude, that's nuts. And then you just developed it, Mael, because there's like so many pages to your website.
I mean, Gaetan did the work page, so this page that we see as well as the case study. So this
okay.
That.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see that on your Figma board. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually the main concern and the main point of discussion during the design phase was about what we were gonna put in the hero section, because I did not know what I wanted to do in 3D, and so that was the main question that we had during the whole development process. But in terms of the design, yeah, the concept was I mean, it's great. So I was super happy with the direction Gaetan took. And we did not have a lot of back and forth after that. I think.
I remember at the time I was like, if you don't like it, I just keep it for myself and like create my own for you.
And like, do you mind me asking, did you guys, so you guys are friends, you guys have worked together on various different projects. Did you say, look, I'm going to do this, like I'll help you if you help me, or maybe we can collaborate, or like I'll develop your site if you design my site? Like, did you guys have that conversation? Because I think it's so powerful when people just collaborate, like low key on different things, just playful, and just, it's not like, dude, I've paid you, I need this by a certain day. Or how did you guys kind of manage that?
To be honest, I mean, we do have that relation. So I got a fairly amazing price. Gaetan was really nice about that, but I was also really happy to pay him because, as I was saying, as Gaetan was saying, when I started freelancing, I reached out to him for advice and everything. He's the first one I really collaborated with, and it felt normal to give him a little bit of a little something, you know.
Yeah, to
but
say thank you.
To be fair, Gaetan was really, really generous. So yeah, a bit of both, I guess.
Beautiful. Love that you guys have that like honest relationship, and you can be like, mate, I want to help you out, but there is work involved, obviously.
I don't know. I think in my experience, like I'm always a bit skeptical about like working for free, even for friends, like maybe even more for friends, because you always have that kind of weird relation, and you don't have really like boundaries, right? Like we're like, okay, let's work for free, and like let's do this, and I don't know. It's in my experience, it always created some weird relation, and I like it to be super square, even if it's a super fair price. You know? I like it to be like just like okay, if I want a website to be developed, I just pay you and like you develop it, and we're good.
Yeah, and I think like almost it's harder with friends because they're like, come on, man, like just help me out.
Yeah.
It's like, I get that, you know, you could just help them out, but actually they might take the piss. Like if there's no value attached to the work, then they're not going to value the work that's attached. So yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense to have some kind of payment due.
But yeah, this is just me. Maybe some people are just okay to work differently.
No. Like, hey, I've took me a year to do my brother's website, and I'm sure it wouldn't have taken a year if I was charging a day rate, even if the day rate was £10 a day, you know, even if there was some repercussion. Matt, if you're watching, if you're one of the 3 people watching this live on YouTube, I love you. Okay, so tell me about from here. What happens? You know, I guess, Mael, this is now your job to bring this to life. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of long development. I think that I reached out to Gaetan in last February, so a year ago.
Wow, this took a year. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I was working on it, you know, on and off. But there was a lot of technical things that I've never done before that I just had to make sure I could build them before building the whole website. So, for example, I knew that for the Hero website, I wanted to have that those 3D scenes with that you know, transition between them. And when you look at it, it looks fairly simple, but technically it was kind of it was a new thing for me. It was kind of hard, so I had to learn how to create shadow transition, how render targets work in ThreeJS, and so on. So the first step for me was to really build each component independently, just to make sure that technically I was able to make it. So that was the first step.
Okay, so can we just pause there? So you've already said, I saw a Twitter post basically saying that you had built this using ThreeJS, you had GSAP, you had, I think it was called Prismatic, or what was it? What was the one you developed this on?
Prismic.
Prismic, sorry.
Yeah.
So can I just ask, like, why did you... Can you just tell me, like, why you use this combination of tools to start with?
I don't know, honestly. I actually built the website twice. I built it once in Next.js. I can show it. I think it's interesting because, yeah, I built it once using Next.js, GSAP, and React 3 Fiber, which is a ThreeJS version of React, and that's actually the version in Next.js. And it looks the same, but it's not the same technology that's being used. And the why, I guess, doesn't really matter. It was just a way for me to practice. I wanted to get better at Next.js. I wanted to get better at GSAP and ThreeJS, and I just chose those technologies. I could have used
that
Nuxt or even Webflow, but
okay,
yeah.
Can we just pause there? I think really great developers put themselves in the way of problems. They're like, okay, I'm gonna do a project that is gonna force me to learn something that I don't know how to use. And I think that's really interesting that, like, dude, this is your portfolio. You've taken a year, and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to redevelop the whole thing using a completely different set of tools. You're a madman. But that is why you're such a good developer. I think, like, you put yourself in the way of different tools, tech, means that you have a really good access to an array of different tools to actually create the best outcome. And I think that's something that I think a lot of us can learn from, because a lot of the time people are so tribal about the tool stack they use. Who cares? What outcome are you trying to get to? Like, that should be the focus.
This is something super important, I think. Like, nowadays, I think, like, everyone is like, I'm using Figma, I'm using, like, that stack. No one cares. Like, use what you want, just create some stuff, and, like,
yeah, what's the outcome? People get so weirdly tribal, and it's like, these companies are just big businesses. Like, they don't really care about you. So you don't like, I get that, I'm not trying to say that these aren't important. Like, Webflow has changed a lot of people's lives. Frame has changed a lot of people's lives. WordPress has changed a lot of people's lives. I get that. And I get that you love your tool. But I think to hate on other people for using a different tool to you is nuts. It's like saying, I hate you because you're a different religion to me or whatever. It's like, who cares? Who cares? You believe what you believe. I'll believe what I believe. We're both just trying to get the best result for what we think, we're trying to do with the knowledge that we have at the time. Like, who cares? Anyway, glad that you.
I just wanted to add something on Mael, because it's super interesting about how he works and how in the relation we have. It's like, usually, like, it happens quite sometimes in the projects we make together. I just present him like an intention. I'm like, maybe here we could have that animation or that effect or that thing going on. Do you know how to make it? And he's like, no, but let's figure out and let's make it.
That's so sick. Love that. Okay, interesting question here. There's a lot of different people that are interested in learning GSAP. I've seen loads of different, like, GSAP. I mean, like Osmo, for example. There's Ilya Van Eck and Dennis Snellenberg have released their amazing GSAP platform. And I think, as much as it's amazing that people can just copy and paste different bits of code, they don't necessarily understand those bits of code enough to manipulate them necessarily. Whereas I think there's something that's interesting about you, Mael, is like, because you've got into the code, like, you actually understand how to manipulate it, and as a result, you have a way better idea about how to change things, how to like tweak things so that it's right for you. So let's say you guys, so Gaetan shows you a website. He's like, this effect's sick. How do we do it? And you're like, I have no idea. What's the next step for you?
It depends on the effect. Usually, well, I mean, we are still building sometimes unique animations and everything, but it's easy now to find references and animation that looks kind of like what we're trying to do. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to try to look for inspiration. And I think that by just practicing over and over, instinctively, I have an idea of where to start, so I will just try and iterate until I find something that works. But yeah, there's no really,
There's no
proven
magic
way of
pill.
doing. Yeah, exactly. Just get your hands dirty, start by doing stuff, and eventually this will work.
But are you using like Cursor AI or ChatGPT or Bolt or whatever to like get? Are you like talking, while kind of looking at references and being like, "Hey, here's this URL. Love this effect. Like, can you give me an idea of how this could be done, or how are you kind of approaching it?"
Yes, I'm not using Cursor anymore. I used it for a while, but I found myself just relying on it too much. And so I think it was bad for me because I was not learning anymore, but also I was not having fun anymore at all.
Okay.
It was faster, but it was just boring stuff, and for AI, I tried to use it as a teacher. I try to not get code to copy and paste, because that's the same issue as what you were mentioning before, is that you don't understand what you're doing, you're not improving, and then you get stuck. You build the effect you want, but then you cannot change anything because you don't understand how it works. And it's just not fun, I mean, at some point, yeah, I was just using Cursor, doing stuff, and it was fast and everything, but it was just boring work.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's go back to your personal website. If you can share the screen and just like, if we can have a look at the website together, I'd love to know like how you built some of the effects that you did, and if we can just like zoom in on some of them. This header, just okay. So you were just like, yeah. So I use ThreeJS and Prismic, and you're just saying this like. I mean, you said at the start you think that this looks easy to do. Trust me, it does not look easy to do. That's why I've never seen a website like this. So can you just explain a little bit for someone that's like not the best coder, who doesn't really understand what you're talking about, as if it's Chinese? Can you just explain like how you did this?
Yeah. Actually, I did something I think I can show you. I'm not going to show the code because that's not really interesting, but I just wanted to show you the 3D part.
Okay.
Because everything that we're seeing, the 3D here, the images that we see are actually 3D planes. And so the first step, of doing of building those effects was actually to position the planes, the ThreeJS meshes, where I wanted them. So I have one plane here, and if we look at the sites, all the images that we have there are actually 3D geometries.
Okay, so they're not just images.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so did you actually make the 3D scenes in Blender, or like how did you even make those initially?
Okay, so yeah, so first step was to position and everything, which was a big part of it, and then I built the scenes in Blender. I actually have five scenes. I used 3 at the end, but I think I can show you how it looks as well. It's going to be a bit slow because I'm on my Mac, but
yeah, and you're streaming as well.
But basically, that's what it looks like. So as you can see, it's fairly simple. We have a few walls, a chair, and a stairway.
Okay, sick.
I'm not a really good, 3D designer or anything, so I wanted to play more with lighting, colors, and just get a overall feeling than a complex scene and anything.
Okay, wait, pause. How did you even come up with this? This room, like, What is this kind of futuristic therapy room? Where did this even come from?
I have no answer. Sorry, I don't know. I think I was just looking at references on Savvy, on Instagram, and anything. Some scenes took me days to build. For example, the second scene, which is this one, took me, I think, 3-4 weeks to build because I struggled at the time to find the right proportion, the right lighting and everything.
Wow.
And it was really, really long. And this scene I built in maybe 2 hours. Because it's just so simple. And I guess the initial idea was to have this kind of concept of the stairway going somewhere with the light. And I was also relying a lot on these frame effects. I thought it was cool to have a picture of a painting of a scene, and then to be able to move into that scene. So the concept can be pretty simple, as long as.
Dude, you're saying that like it's simple. It's not simple. Like, it's mad that you even came up with this. Like, it's like when I went on your website, I was like, how did he even think about this? Like, it's insane. Why did you choose 5 different 3D scenes? Is that 5 different static pages or?
No, it was because we had. Well, I mean, I built 5 because I was not happy with one of them, but I think Gaetan created 4 different colors during the design process.
Okay, this is part of the website being playful, and we wanted just being able to switch the 3D place and make the whole colors of the website switch with the to match the 3D scenes and
yeah. Okay, it's so interesting to have the brand colors throughout the 3D scene, as well as having flat brand colors throughout the site. It's just a really interesting 2D and 3D mix that I think makes this website so engaging, because your eyes are whoa, there's just so many different interesting things to look at in comparison to most websites.
It's interesting because we thought about this, we have this fancy 3D scenes, but in the end of the day, Mael is a developer, and we wanted to have that super dev looking website, with no margins and with that monotype font.
Yeah.
We wanted to make it too much looking like that dev
like a furniture website or whatever. You were like, I need it to be very clear that you are a developer, and you want
and we wanted to be clear because he is one, and wanted to be too much, because he has to contrast with the 3D scenes that are super ethereal and super quiet and beautiful to look at. And I wanted to have that roughness of the dev world,
the 2D just slams above it.
Exactly.
It's very clear, the contrast between them.
Actually,
I love it. And so, okay, you made the 3D scenes.
Yeah.
Then you exported them, you compressed them, and then you hosted them.
Yeah. So, so what you do in Blender is that you create the 3D scene, and to have those, soft shadows and
the light must have taken ages.
Yeah, and so to have that in the browser, what I did is that I called it's called baking. I baked the light into the textures, meaning that I think I can show you what it looks like. So, for example, when I exported my models, for example, for this scene, I actually have 3 objects. I have my walls, I have my furnitures, and then I have my frames. So I export everything, and then I end up with 3 textures, and it's going to look something like that. And you can see the lighting on the texture themselves. And yeah, once it's done, I just import everything in ThreeJS, and it's pretty straightforward. I think the main challenges here was to actually build the transition between the scenes. And I can also show you, because I think it's interesting. In ThreeJS, what you can do is that you can render scenes outside the canvas. And
so they're pre-rendering like before the page is loaded.
No, so what you're doing is that you're rendering a scene inside 3D geometry.
Wow, man.
If that makes sense. So basically what we're seeing here is a plane that's taking the full width and height of my screen, where I'm rendering different scenes, and then I can just toggle between scenes, you know?
Dude.
And so that was the tricky part, to be honest. It took me quite some time to figure that out.
Can I ask you about performance? Jacob has asked a question. Why did you decide not to go with Next.js plus R3F performance?
Yeah, performances were not as good as they are now, mainly because Next.js and React with Fiber are great because they are doing a lot of the work for you. And in Next.js, in React with Fiber, there's a way to divide your ThreeJS scenes in multiple canvases, meaning that I could have 3D in multiple div elements very, very easily. And it was easy to set up, super fast, but the performances were really bad. So that was
because you've got all of them loading at the same time. Is that why?
Yeah, and because you have multiple cameras for each of those scenes
planes.
where in this version I only have one canvas,
and it loads with that page.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I had some limitation that I could overcome here that I did not manage to fix in Next.js. So for example, in the Next.js version, I did not manage to have this page being an infinite scroll, because I don't know, just the way React with Fiber was working, I did not understand, the full way of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And then in terms of like mobile performance, this also loads really fast on mobile. You must be compressing these scenes before you export. Are you using like, I don't know, Object-Verse or something? Can you compress a file after baking it?
Photoshop.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes the simple solution is the best. You can compress the model when exporting from Blender. So that was the first part, and then I just compressed the texture using Photoshop. And on mobile, actually, I don't have any 3D because I think that I was not confident enough in my ability to create a beautiful scene on mobile and to have a good experience. So I wanted to have something very simple, something very straightforward that people can just, go to, find the information they're looking for, and that's it.
But as you scroll down the page on mobile, so these are just images. These aren't planes.
Yeah, exactly. Those are images.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Jacob says, thanks for the invites. Insights, not invites, sorry. Jacob, thanks for your question. That's great. If anyone else has any questions while we're on the stream, by the way, feel free, because I will get carried away and ask too many questions. Can I ask you about the infinite scroll effect and how GSAP and Lenis come into this? So you've got this very smooth transition between the pages. So as you scroll down the page, text comes in. Yeah, so that's GSAP, and then Lenis is basically making there a smooth scroll effect. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Lenis was really useful for multiple reasons. The first one is that it looks great, but also it's a great way for us to bind our 3D meshes or 3D planes that we're using as images to the scroll. Lenis is giving us a lot of features that allow us to bind the 3D to the scroll. And it's also giving us the possibility to have an infinite scroll very easily, because I mean, I don't have it in the console, but you can check the progress of your scroll just using Lenis very easily. And basically you're going from 0 to 1. And then I just have to say, okay, when I'm at 1, when the progress is 1, let's go to the top. And
so you can put anchor points.
Exactly. And it's really that easy, you know.
Dude, that's so cool. And then do you have some like favorite animations that you do? There seems to be very popular like text, what's called split text animation that everyone seems to be using, but you're like, no, I'm gonna have like a kind of flow in. I guess that's similar to the kind of flow that you have on the actual like ThreeJS scene above as well. So maybe that like works better. Is that how you thought about it? So I'm just thinking like there's all these people that are watching and they're like, how did you even conceptualize this, let alone implement it?
Yeah, I mean,
You're just going
I wanted to keep this 3D feel, you know. I didn't want to only animate the text horizontally or vertically. I wanted to have this depth. And so that's what that's why I chose to have this animation for those type of titles. It was also very easy for me to animate because we only have 3 text styles on the website. We have the body, which is very simple and which I think represents the technical part.
The dev.
Exactly. So for those elements, I just want to keep things simple, you know, over animation. Those fonts, I think, represent more the creative part. So I wanted something smooth, a bit slower, and again, to have that depth, because obviously I love using 3D. So that's why I did that. And the last one was those big titles. And there's no real motivation or reason why I did that. I just think it's cool. So that's it.
I love that kind of like bubble text stuff that you did. It's really like different to the rest of the feel as well. So it kind of like, you're like, whoa, what's this? It's really like, you're like, the 3D's done, and then it's like, bang. This is really cool. And can I ask as well, like, so you could have done this on Webflow or like, but you can basically like control every different aspect with the combination of like Prismic and like, is that kind of how you thought about it then?
So the website was built, to give you an overview, was built with Node.js, which is a way to write server-side logic. Then Prismic is a headless CMS. You know, it's just a way for me to manage the content of the website.
Okay. So these are like the work item, like the project pages.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, you could use whatever you want to build this. I think I can use Webflow if I want to, but the performances will not be as good because obviously Webflow is more suited for, I think, maybe marketing websites or anything. What was interesting in building this website from scratch was that I was always implementing the elements that I needed for this specific website. You know, I don't have any unused code or logic or anything.
It's all super performant because you've literally been like, I only need this, I only need this, I only need this. Yeah.
But it also makes it hard to scale because now, let's say I want to implement a logging feature or whatever, I would need to implement that from scratch as well. So that's also something to think about when doing that.
Is a login feature coming? Is a course
No.
Is something coming? Are you dropping hints?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's gonna stay like that. I think I'm happy with it. Maybe I will change a few things, but really not a lot.
Okay,
I'm trying to use shaders for the texture here to animate it, but nothing huge coming soon.
Okay, nice. Got a question from Scott here. Jumping back to the animation, at what point is the mouse hover interaction applied? Is that in the ThreeJS editor?
I guess this one, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's referencing.
The mouse hover, meaning the camera animation was built in ThreeJS, yeah. Then the click to switch is just a div. It's in the HTML element, and then the transition is built in ThreeJS. I'm using GLSL, which is shading language. I mean, that the textures are using are shaders basically, and I'm transitioning from one texture to another using a noise transition. So everything was built in ThreeJS, and it came fairly soon in the process because I wanted to check I was able to do that. So for a long time on the website, we had everything ready, but we had like 3 or 4 really ugly scenes of just a sphere, a red sphere, and a blue cube transitioning from one another.
It was like ready to go, but yeah, just checking how it worked. Okay, amazing. Let's say someone is watching this, one of the 5 people who's on this stream with us, and they're like, God, guys, this is amazing. Like, how can I make something like this? I think from talking to you guys, Gaetan, you're a designer, Mael, you're a dev, and you've both got a real depth of skill set in those particular areas. And from my perspective, it's really hard to do what you both do individually, let alone together. Like, do you guys think, if I want to make websites like that, I need to be more of like, I need to go into ThreeJS, maybe do like Bruno Simon's course and just like understand how the hell this works and focus on that? Or like, how would you guys go about like advising someone who's like, oh my God, I've just seen Mael's website and I want to make something like that, something that's so different and so exciting and interesting that makes me want to make something like that? How would you advise them? Difficult question.
Yeah, I would just say, like, ask yourself about what specifically you love about that website and why do you love it, and just, I don't know, it's always the same advice I give, but just make it, like, iterate, create some stuff, iterate until you're happy with it. I used to I said, like, if Mael doesn't like the direction I came up with, I just keep it for myself, like,
love that.
And like, this is one specific rule I apply to myself on every project. It has to be my favorite project ever. Like, if you're not super happy with it, you're not done with the design. Maybe you'll need to add some twists and make it your favorite project. And until you didn't reach that point, just keep iterating.
I love that rule. So that's why you do so many iterations. For anyone that's joining the stream now, Gaetan's Figma board looked like just creative vomit. It was just like just so many designs and different directions, and then you kind of narrowed in on something that was really tight. But the amount of iterations is just mad, and I absolutely love that advice. Every single project should be your favorite project, and if it's not, then work out why, because maybe more design needs to be done.
Yeah.
Love that.
And one last advice I would give to people, like, if you want to make your website to be like unique, or like don't look like every website you see everywhere, just don't follow the rules, but break them. Like, ask yourself, what about some rules I could break? What about having like 10 different fonts on the website? Why not?
Also, don't just go to awards for your inspiration. I think if you want a different looking website, don't go copying everyone else's site. And like maybe there's a video game you're playing and you're like, oh shit, how do they do that? Like how's the lighting like this or whatever? And I think that's a really good bit of advice that I got given, that I think from what you've said, you're looking at Instagram posts, you're looking at Savior, you're looking at advertising, you're looking at marketing material, you're just like every input could be something that's really exciting for a website. So I think that's really cool. Mael, do you have any advice for anyone?
Just like look for inspiration, like
dude.
Everywhere beside the internet.
For me, I don't know. I think what helped me a lot was also to give up on design. I still have a part in the creative process as we were discussing, but I'm not handling the design anymore, and that allowed me to really focus on improving my technical skills and focusing on the 3D and maybe adding more value in the way I'm thinking about animation and everything. So yeah, a lot of people are designing and building websites, and when you're start, sometimes you have to do that because you don't have anyone to work with, or
and budgets don't allow it. Yeah,
exactly. But focusing on one thing was a big help for me. And in development, I think if you're not sick of the project you're working on, it means that you haven't spent enough time tweaking everything,
Interesting. Okay. Okay, good. That's such an interesting bit of advice there. I actually had an interview a few years ago for an agency. I won't say which one because I'm not sure if this person would like me saying this, but I had an interview and they were like, what are you, designer or developer? And I was like, well, I do a bit of both. And he was like, you're not going to work here. And I was like, wait, what? Like, we just started the interview. He's like, no, I don't want people that do a bit of both. I want someone who picks a lane and is a master at either design or either development. And I thought, fuck this guy. So I left the interview, obviously didn't get a job. But years later, I can confidently say that picking a lane is great as a freelancer. It means that you can be super confident when you work, how you work, the tools you like, and you know what you're doing. And it means that you can actually be a great X. Like when people are like, I do a bit of this, I do a bit of that, I'm always a bit like, ooh, mama. I mean, I think it's great to explore and work out what you're going to do by virtue of trying loads of things. But then I think it is important to kind of focus in to a certain extent. So I second that advice. Also, I want to focus on something that you said, Mael. You put yourself in the way of problems. You put yourself in the way of hard things. You don't do things because they're easy. You do them because they are hard. Like you are like, I've built my website, but you know what? It's not quite right. So I'm going to rebuild the whole site using a completely different tool stack that you think might be better. It might not be better, but it might be better. That is why you're great at what you do as well. Like you push and you pull, you try out different tools to try and get the best result, and you're not afraid of hard things. And I think that's why this website looks so sexy as it does.
Thanks.
We got a couple of minutes for any questions. If anyone's got any final questions, put them in the chat. Faiz Akhtar, what a name. He says, love your work, man. I assume that's to both of you. These guys love your work, man. Jacob's asked some really great questions. Scott says, hey guys. Oh, I missed that. Sorry. Hey, Scott. But yeah, seems like people in the chat have got a lot out of this conversation. So I hope it was interesting for you guys to like recap it and be like, why did we do this? Like, how did we even make this decision? Because sometimes it's kind of interesting to go back to a project afterwards. But yeah, do you guys have any final words to end on for anyone that's anyone that's watching?
I don't know. Thank you for having us. And like it was, as we said, it was interesting to think about our process and like how we work and why we work that way. And like, yeah, just maybe if yeah, I don't know actually. If you just I don't have a word to finish with.
I put you on the spot there. I gave you a very difficult question.
No, yeah, no, but I like that you like the website, and we always try to make it unique and like, but overall we just try to make it like ourselves, right? So like, don't try to follow every trend and like just do what you like and be yourself.
Yeah, interesting idea. Maybe don't try and do what these guys have done. Maybe try and make
Yeah.
your own idea come to life. Yeah, love that. Mael, do you have anything?
No, thank you very much, man. It was really nice talking with you. I'm really looking forward the next episode and to see what you will do with this.
Yeah, this series is going to come out every week. So anyone that's watching, come back and obviously, like I'm gonna try and get some really interesting people on the podcast that have made amazing immersive websites. If there's anyone that you guys want to see, obviously, send me a message on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever too. Both you guys, Gaetan, Mael, thank you guys so much for coming on the first episode of Under the Hood. It was so much fun. I appreciate you both.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
End of stream.